in some way, an examination.
That we're being graded.
Yeah. But usually when we talk about this, especially in theology, we focus on how hard the test is.
Right. The whole problem of evil. Why is there suffering? Why is the test so difficult?
But the research we're looking at today, it flips that entirely. We're unpacking a really fascinating article by Muhammad Raj Abdullah, and his argument isn't about the difficulty. It's about the setup.
The architecture of it all.
He argues that the very fact that we can choose is the proof that this is a test.
It's a really compelling piece. Abdullah takes this almost mathematical approach to it.
He does.
He connects free will, the nature of good and evil, and this Islamic principle of no compulsion. His whole point is that without the real option to fail, success is, well, it's just impossible.
So let's get into that logic. Abdullah starts with a puzzle that I found really sticky. It's almost like a thought experiment in like game design.
It is exactly that. He asks us to imagine two versions of humanity. Let's call them prototype A and prototype B.
Okay.
In prototype A, the creator makes humans with only a positive nature. So we're hardwired to be good. We physically can't lie or steal or hurt anyone.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, that sounds pretty good on paper. Utopia.
Sounds lovely. But Abdullah asks a key question. If you're programmed to be good, if you have no other choice, can you actually claim to be moral?
Ah, I see where this is going. It's like if I'm a toaster and I make perfect toast, I'm not virtuous.
Exactly.
I'm just a machine running my code.
Precisely. A biological robot. In Islamic theology, angels kind of fit that bill. They're creatures of pure obedience. They don't have the capacity to disobey. But for a test, you need agency.
Okay, so what about prototype B?
Right. Prototype B. Humans with only a negative nature. Pure chaos, pure selfishness.
Well, then we wouldn't even have a concept of good to compare it to. We'd just be monsters doing monster things.
Exactly. So in both extremes, total good or total bad, the test just, it collapses. It's not an examination. It's a simulation running on rails.
So for the test to even work, you need something in the middle, something on the razor's edge.
And that edge is free will.
The ability to look at the wrong choice and the right choice and just decide.
That's the engine of the test.
Okay, so that sets up the philosophy. We need options for a valid test. But this is where the article gets really specific and, to be honest, a little more controversial. It uses this idea of free will to unpack the Islamic principle of la kika fid-din.
There is no compulsion in religion. It's from verse 2.256 of the Quran.
Now, I have to pause you there, because no compulsion in religion, that sounds incredibly modern.
It does.
It sounds like something from Western secularism. But let's be real, when people look at history or at the strict rules within Islam, freedom isn't always the first word that comes to mind.
That is the elephant in the room, isn't it? We see rules, we see conflicts, and we think compulsion.
Yeah.
But Abdullah, he goes right at this. He says this verse isn't just, a polite suggestion or a PR slogan. He argues it's a structural necessity for the faith to even work.
How so? Because people have been forced to do things in the name of religion.
Of course. But the source is talking theology and law, not just bad human behavior. Go back to that robot analogy. If I force you to believe, if I put a sword to your neck, what have I actually done?
You've gotten me to comply. I'll say whatever you want me to say.
But have I changed your heart? Your
Right.
mind?
Not at all. I'm just trying to survive.
And that's the whole argument. The source defines faith, or iman in Arabic, as something more than just belief. It's an inner conviction, something that happens deep inside.
So you literally can't force it. It's a biological impossibility, like trying to force someone to be hungry.
Correct. You can make the body go through the motions. You can make the tongue say the words. But you cannot coerce a heart to accept a truth. The article says that coerced belief is meaningless in the sight of Allah.
Meaningless is a strong word. So a forced convert is basically the same as a non-believer.
Actually, it's worse. The text suggests it creates a hypocrite. If you force someone to pray, you're not making a believer. You're making a liar. You're forcing them to pretend. And since the whole test is about sincerity, the source quotes a verse about being sincere to him in religion. Coercion basically just, it voids the test results.
It breaks the game.
Completely.
That's a null set.
Okay, I'm with you on the logic, but I want to push on the why. The verse says there is no compulsion in religion, but then right after that, it says truth has become clear from falsehood. The source connects those two. What's the link there? It's an argument about the quality of the evidence. The text is suggesting that the truth, the existence of a creator, the moral law, it's so distinct it can stand on its own.
So if the product is good, you don't need a hard sell.
That's one way to put it, yeah. Think about it. If I have to beat you up to make you agree the sky is blue, something is wrong with my argument.
Right.
But if the sky is clearly blue, all I need to do is invite you to look up. Force is what you use when your evidence is weak.
That's a powerful idea. So using force is basically admitting your truth isn't all that compelling on its own.
That's the implication Abdullah draws, yeah. If the truth is clear from falsehood, like the verse says, then the human mind should be able to see it, as long as it's looking.
Which brings us to methodology, because religions do want to spread. If you can't use force, what's left? How do you get people to look up?
The source outlines what it calls the prophetic methodology. It's basically 4 things: good character, sound reasoning, leading by example, and dialogue.
So attraction, not promotion.
Or invitation, not invasion. It quotes another verse. Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction.
Wisdom is interesting there. It implies you have to be smart about it, not just loud.
Right. And this applied even to the Prophet Muhammad himself, which this part of the deep dive really struck me. You'd think if anyone had divine permission to force people, it would be the Prophet.
He's the messenger, right? The direct line. If anyone can say, do this or else, it's him.
But the text highlights verse after verse where God essentially tells him to back off. Verse 88.22 says, "You are not a controller over them." Another verse asks, rhetorically, "Will you then compel people until they become believers?"
It sounds like God is telling him, hey, stay in your lane.
That's exactly it. He's a messenger, a conveyor. The mailman delivers the letter. He doesn't force you to read it. If the prophet couldn't override free will, then no scholar or king after him can either.
Okay, so let's bring this down to messy reality. We know forced conversions have happened. How does the source deal with that? Is it just saying those guys were wrong?
Pretty much, yeah. The source distinguishes between what some Muslims do and what Islamic law actually says. And the article is clear that classical scholarship is almost unanimous. Forced conversion is legally invalid.
Invalid meaning it just doesn't count.
Legally and spiritually void. If a village is forced to convert at gunpoint from a strict legal perspective, they are not considered Muslims. The contract was signed under duress.
That's huge. It means any empire that did that was just collecting fake numbers.
It does, and the source points to history to back this up. It notes that for centuries, major Muslim empires ruled over huge populations of Christians and Jews who stayed Christian and Jewish for generations.
Which wouldn't be possible if the rule was convert or die.
Right. If the rule was total compulsion, churches in Egypt or Syria would have vanished 1,000 years ago. The fact that they're still there is, evidence of this principle in action.
Okay, I want to pivot to the part of the article that I think is the hardest for an outsider to grasp. We've established no compulsion for entering the faith.
Correct. The entry requirement.
But once you're inside, it seems like there's a lot of compulsion. Don't eat pork, pray 5 times a day, all these rules.
This is the common critique. You promised me freedom and you gave me a rule book.
Feels like a bait and switch. Go on in, the door's open. Click, now you're locked in.
Abdullah uses a really helpful analogy here, the medical profession.
Okay, break that down for me.
Does anyone force you to become a doctor?
No. You choose it. You apply.
Right. You freely choose to enter that field. But once you are a doctor, are you free to do whatever you want? Can you skip washing your hands before surgery because you don't feel like it?
No, of course not. You'd lose your license.
Why not? You have free will. You could do it.
Because I agreed to the standards of the profession. When I signed up, I accepted the rules that define what it means to be a doctor.
Bingo. The source argues that Islam works the same way. The no compulsion is for the entry. But Islam itself means submission. Once you voluntarily enter, you're submitting to the curriculum.
Ah, that's a crucial distinction. It's the difference between being kidnapped and joining the Marine.
Exactly. One is a victim, the other is a volunteer accepting a disciplined life. The rules aren't a violation of your freedom, they're the structure you freely chose.
And the implication is, if you don't like the rules, you aren't forced to stay.
Well, apostasy is a whole other complex topic, but theologically the point stands. If you stop believing, the rituals are meaningless anyway. A prayer is void if the heart isn't in it.
So the rules aren't a violation of free will. They are the exercise of free will.
That's a great way to put it. They're the daily validation of that first choice.
So let's zoom out to the spiritual why. Why design the system this way? Why does the creator, in this view, even want us to have the ability to say no?
Because yes means absolutely nothing if you can't say no.
Expand on that.
The analysis in the text gets pretty deep here. It says Allah isn't looking for bodies. He's not trying to get a head count of biological robots that just bow down on command.
He's looking for hearts.
He wants voluntary love, a relationship based on trust. Think about it in human terms. If you programmed a robot to say, I love you every morning, would that mean anything to you?
No, it would just be hollow. Creepy, even.
But if a person who could leave you, who could ignore you, chooses to say, I love you, that has weight. That has value.
So the risk of rejection is the price you pay for a genuine connection.
That's the thesis. The source quotes verse 18.29. Whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve. It's validating the existence of disbelief.
Let him disbelieve. That sounds so permissive for a religious text.
It's recognizing the reality of the test. You're the pilot. You have to be able to crash the plane for the flight to even count.
That's kind of terrifying. Puts all the responsibility right on you.
It is. It's the burden of consciousness. And Abdullah argues that this freedom is what elevates humanity.
It reframes the whole test. It's not just did you follow the rules, it's did you even choose to play the game?
And did you play it sincerely? That's the real takeaway. Accountability depends on freedom. Because you are free, every single choice you make carries this infinite moral weight.
It's a heavy concept, but it makes the world feel a lot less random. It suggests our intentions matter just as much as our actions.
It restores a certain dignity to the human experience. You know, we're not just leaves in the wind, we are agents. And that agency proves the test is real.
So, to recap the deep dive today, theologically, the Creator invites, but never coerces. Legally, a forced conversion is basically a fate contract. And philosophically, this scary, messy thing we call free will is what gives life its meaning.
You nailed it. It's a system built on the dignity of choice. The Creator honors our intellect enough to just say, here's the evidence, now you decide.
Before we sign off, I have one last thought that's kind of building on this.
Yeah.
We spend this whole time saying that the ability to reject faith is what makes accepting it valid.
Right.
So, if that's true, does that mean that doubt is actually an essential part of faith?
That is a fascinating question.
I mean, think about it. If there's no struggle to believe, is there really a choice? If you never wrestle with the no, can your yes ever really be your own?
Maybe certainty isn't the opposite of doubt. Maybe certainty is what you find on the other side of doubt.
Something to chew on. Huge thanks to the research from Mohammed Raj Abdullah for giving us this framework today.
A pleasure, as always.
Catch you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.